Welcome back. In this video I'm going to look at lives. So I'm going to set up firstly a basic live system, and then we'll look at something a little bit more detailed. So the first thing that we need to do is declare a variable for our lives, and all of this code is done on the player object. So in the create event of the player object, I'm just going to enter a new variable lives, and I'm going to give it a value. 3 is a standard number, but you can have as many as you like. The next thing that I'm going to look at then is collisions. So obviously as you collide with objects within the game, you want to start reducing your lives. So it's very simple to do that. Okay, all I need to do is to go onto the add event. I'm going to set a collision event up with one of my objects, and I'm going to collide with the fly. Okay. And when I collide with the fly, all I want to do is to give the new value of lives, the old value of lives minus 1. So that's just going to take 1 off your lives. That pretty much is how we create a live system. What I'm then going to do is to write the number of lives to the screen. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new event for our game object. So the game object is where all the processing for the mechanics of the game are going to go. So things like writing to the screen, keeping track of scores and lives and so on. So I'm going to create a new object. So I'm going to create an object. I'm not going to give it any sprite, and I'm just going to call it obj_game. Okay. That we will be messing about with certain parts of this later on, but for now we just want to keep it simple. So I'm going to add an event, and what I want to do is to draw things to the screen. So I'm going to do a draw GUI event. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this in, and what this does, it put a comment on the top, draws the number lives to the screen. Okay, so that draws the number of lines to the screen. It sets the colour as white, and then in the position of 20x 20y, it writes the or it displays the word lives with a colon, and then adds the string of lives behind it. So that's the value of the variable. So you have to remember, when you use a game object like this, that you have to put it in the room. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to put that game object just in the room. Anywhere is fine. It doesn't have to actually go on the room, as long as it's in the room. So I'm going to run the game. Okay, you can see there now that my lives are displayed. So hopefully, if I get hit by the fly, it should hopefully reduce my lives count by, oh, there you go. So you can see there that it's taking my lives down all the time, and that's because I'm still in contact with the fly at all the times. So what I need to do is to set myself a period of immunity, so I can get away from the fly before it starts taking off all my lives. But you can see that the lives counter is working. So let's have a little look at that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into my player object, and I'm going to go into my create event, and I'm going to add 2 more variables, and this is for immunity. I'm going to paste those in. Spell immunity correctly would be good. Immunity. Okay, so currently immunity is set at false, and the immunity timer is set at 0. So there's no immunity currently. When we use the variable immunity timer, its default value is 0. So we've got no immunity. Okay. What we're then going to do is we're going to come to the step event. And what we're going to do here, we're going to set the countdown timer for the immunity, for the value of our immunity. So in the step event, we're going to do a check to see if we are immune. Okay, so again, I'm going to put another comment in here for immunity. Check. Countdown check. And I'm going to paste the code in. Okay, so if we're immune, okay, we are going to set the timer to -1. Okay, and it's going to count down, and then when it reaches 0 or less than 0, the immunity ends. So that's the countdown clock. So immunity countdown clock or timer. Okay, what we will then need to do, we need to go into the collision event with the enemy. I'm going to get rid of this, okay, because this is a bit more detailed. I'm going to paste in the code, and this is going to check to see if we're not immune. Then we're going to reduce the lives by 1, set the immunity to true, okay, and then start the immunity timer, and that's going to run for 5 times the room speed. So that'll give us about 5 seconds. Okay, so I'll just put a comment in there. That's going to activate immunity and deduct lives. Deduct life. Okay, so let's see if that works. So let's run the game. Okay, let's try and collide with the fly again. So you can see now that I got immunity for 5 seconds. Okay. And it's not taking all my lives all the way down at once, but it would be handy to have some sort of way of seeing that we are immune, and the way that they do that in games normally is by using some sort of flashing symbol on the character, so maybe making the character flash. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so to make it flash then we're going to add another line of code under here. So let's tidy this code up a little bit. And then under here I'm going to, oh, not there, sorry. There, I'm going to paste in this line of code, and what that line of code does, that line of code changes the alpha, this is the transparency, okay? And the larger this number on the end, okay, the slower it blinks. So if you'd like to have a slower blink rate, then you just, or flash rate, you just change this number on the end. This is setting it the on and off of the flash, okay? That's the range of the flash. So the only thing we need to add underneath here is an else statement. Okay, so underneath here we want an else statement. We're going to open a curly brace again, and this time we're going to put image alpha is equal to 1, and that makes it a static image again. Okay, and we're just going to close the curly brace. So let's have a little look and see how that works, and then we'll investigate changing some of those timers and see what they do. Right, okay, so there you can see that I'm blinking, okay, which is great, which is exactly what I want. Brilliant. I just want to run the game again a minute, because I want to check something. That looked as if the lives went down quite quickly then. Let's have a look. There might be a mistake in the code. Oh no, we started with 3. Sorry, for some reason I thought we were starting with 5 lives, but that's not quite right. Okay, so that's working fine. Okay, that's exactly what we want. The only thing we've got there is the gun that's is not flashing with the character, but I'm not too concerned with that at the moment. That's something we can tidy up later on. So let's go and have a look then and see what happens if we change these numbers. So let's say we change this from 1 to 1. See what impact that has on the flashing of the immunity. Okay, I think it's giving it a more harsh flash rather than it being soft around the flash. So let's put it back to 0.5 and see. and let's see if there's a difference. Okay, let's play that again. Yes, you can see the flash is softer, it fades in and out, so that 0.5, 0.5 is giving it a smoother flash. So let's see what happens if we change this value to 200, and then let's try running the game again. Okay, you can see that there's a long delay in the flash, so that's what those two numbers do. So we've now got a working system where we've got flashing, character, immunity of 5 seconds, and a simple deduction of lives in our game. So in the next video I'm going to look at using a health bar.